What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel. Now I'm not so sure if I ever did a video similar to this. I could be wrong, but with the recent months, the months of SmackDown superstars going to Raw and vice versa, Raw superstars going to SmackDown, there's been a lot of questions about the brand split. And the question is it still going to happen? Are we going to still get a brand split? And there's been a lot of rumors as of late that it could still happen. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you guys do enjoy and you guys want to see more WWE topic videos like this in the future, which get posted every Thursday, sometimes on weekends and sometimes on Wednesdays, because you guys have seen it. You guys have seen it. Recently, I've done quite a few topic videos on Wednesdays every now and then. But if you guys want to see more, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell. Follow me on all my social media. Links will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. Now, obviously, you guys know that. This whole thing with SmackDown superstars going to Raw and Raw superstars going to SmackDown actually kind of started. Kind of started right around the summer, when Triple H actually took over as WWE's head of creative, when Vince actually resigned as WWE's head of creative. And we saw a bit of a small taste of it. We saw, or actually, let me rephrase it. It actually started right around this time last year, WrestleMania season, actually, where Pat McAfee, who was a commentator for SmackDown, would show up to Raw every now and then, and of course Austin Theory from Raw would show up to SmackDown. So we got a bit of a glimpse of that right around this time last year, and then it kind of escalated even higher right around the summer, actually, where Roman Reigns would show up to both Raw and SmackDown now that he's the undisputed Universal Champion, and it just escalated from there. You know, especially leading into War Games, you know, where because of the fact that Kevin Owens is from Raw, you know, he became an honorary member of the Brawling Brutes. Thus, we had the Brawling Brutes versus the Bloodline inside of War Games at Survivor Series, and we saw, you know, earlier this year, you know, not that long ago, literally weeks before the Royal Rumble, we saw all the members of, we saw the Bloodline, Sami Zayn at that time, Solo Sikoa, and the Usos, excuse me, actually have opened up Raw, you know, for the next like few weeks or so, you know, starting off the show with a chaotic takeover, just destroying everything, destroying everybody in their path, all because of the fact that they wanted to establish Roman's dominance as champion. Now Sami Zayn is no longer a part of the Bloodline, and apparently neither is Jey Uso. So we gotta talk about this for a bit, because you guys know the brand split didn't start. I know that right around 2002, I think it was like right after WrestleMania 18 that took place in Toronto, that we had a brand split. And we had the very first ever WWE draft. And I want to look up exactly I want to look up exactly who got drafted to who. And if I remember correctly, because I know that the way it was supposed to go was this: Vince would take over SmackDown, Ric Flair would take over Raw, and if I remember correctly, SmackDown's picks were as follows: The Rock, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, let's see here, Hulk Hogan, the team of Billy Gunn and Chuck Palumbo, also known as Billy and Chuck, if you guys remember that team, Edge, Rikishi, Devon Dudley. Yeah, they actually split up the Dudleys, crazy enough. Let's see here. Mark Henry, Maven, who was the hardcore champion at the time, which made the hardcore title sadly exclusive to SmackDown. However, Raven was able to defeat Maven for said title prior to this event even taking place. Thus the title went back to Raw. Billy Kidman, Tajiri, Chris Jericho, Ivory, Albert. If you guys don't know who Albert is, maybe this name might shake it up. Matt Bloom. Yeah, one of the head coaches of the WWE Performance Center. Hurricane Helms, Al Snow, Lance Storm, Diamond Dallas Page, Tori Wilson, Scotty 2 Hotty, Stacy Keibler, Captain Charisma himself, Christian, Test, Farouk, Taz, Hardcore Holly, Val Venus, and Perry Saturn. And then going back down, down up, Raw chose Mighty Molly, Crash Holly, Tommy Dreamer, Big Boss Man, Just Incredible, Trish Stratus, Goldust, Jacqueline, Terry, Sean Stasiak, D'Lo Brown, Spike Dudley, Mr. Perfect, who I believe passed away not too long after this, if I remember correctly. I think it was like maybe a year or two later, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I believe so. Jeff Hardy, Raven, Matt Hardy, Steven Richards, Bradshaw, Lita, William Regal, Brock Lesnar. Yeah, he ended up getting treated back. He ended up getting treated as SmackDown, crazy enough. Bubba Ray Dudley, Big Show, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, who is the Intercontinental Champion at the time, Kane, the NWO, which featured Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and X-Pac, crazy enough, and The Undertaker. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't go as Vince planned it, if you will. Then, of course, too, there was another draft that took place in 2004. And, crazy, and shockingly enough, this one was what pretty much everything you would expect. So SmackDown got Rene Dupree, Mark Jindrak, Triple H, who actually ended up going back, who ended up getting traded back to Raw. Funny enough, let's see here, Rob Van Dam, Teddy Long, who ended up becoming a manager, Spike Dudley, let's see here, Booker T, let's see here, the Dudleys, Rico, Miss Jackie, and then I believe Raw got, yeah, I was right. I was right. Triple H ended up going back to Raw. Chuck Palumbo also went to Raw. A-Train went to Raw. Paul Heyman ended up going to Raw, but it didn't work out so well because, well, he ended up quitting. Edge, Tajiri, Rhino, Nydia, and Shelton Benjamin all went to Monday Night Raw. And then the draft lottery for 2005. You guys know it was absolutely insane. John Cena, the WWE champion at the time, went to Raw from SmackDown. And Batista went from SmackDown to SmackDown from Raw. It's possible. I'm showing you guys these things because it's a very high possibility that we could potentially get a draft, because obviously you guys know that the last draft we had, it was pretty nuts. It was an absolute nutty draft, and shockingly enough, it really did nothing to what was going on. Because the Bloodline stayed on SmackDown, and yeah, you guys know. Okay, so the 2005 draft, Raw got John Cena, Kurt Angle, Carlito, The Big Show, Rob Van Dam, Mark Jindrak, Rene Dupree, Danny Basham, Kenzo Suzuki, Hiroko Suzuki, and Chavo Guerrero. SmackDown ended up getting Stevie Richards, Simon Dean, Sylvain Grenier, Candice Michelle, William Regal, Batista, as I mentioned, Christian, Muhammad Hassan, and Khosrow Davari, or Sean Davari, Randy Orton, and Chris Benoit, which was quite the list. Now, the 2006 draft actually not only featured Raw and SmackDown, but it also featured ECW as well, because ECW chose both Rob Van Dam and Kurt Angle, and this was the only one. This was it. I believe, if I remember correctly, basically all of the ECW originals ended up going to ECW. Big Show got drafted to ECW, and it was basically a way to. It was basically a way to help ECW with its resurrection, and it just escalated from there. Just fast forwarding a bit, 2007, the 2007 draft was a bit interesting, because I believe because to SmackDown ended up getting the Great Khali, Tori Wilson, Chris Masters, Ric Flair, Kenny Dystra, Hardcore Holly, the Major Brothers, Brett Major and Brian Major, who were known as, you guys are probably curious of who they were. Maybe these names might help you out. Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Yeah, crazy, right? Victoria, Eugene, and Eugene. ECW got Layla, John Morrison, The Miz, Viscera, Viscera was one of them, and he ended up getting, his name ended up changing not long after that to Big Daddy V before he sadly passed away. Benoit got drafted to ECW. He ended up competing in a tournament to crown the new ECW champion when Bobby Lashley had to give up the title. And then we all know what happened there. The Boogeyman also got drafted to ECW and from SmackDown, and then Raw got King Booker and Queen Sharmell. Bobby Lashley again as I mentioned. Snitsky, Mr. Kennedy, Paul London and Brian Kendrick. I believe that was when they split. The Sandman, crazy enough. Sean Daivari, who I believe ended up becoming a manager, if I remember correctly. William Regal and Jillian, which is nuts. And then so fast forward a bit. Fast forward quite a ways to now, and the draft has, well, we all know. But I brought this topic up because I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on this whole thing. Because when you look at the draft, and you look at who gets drafted to who, excuse me, one thing that always comes into mind is the fact that the champions can oftentimes change hands during the draft. Especially when you look at what was it, the 2021 draft, if I remember correctly? No, the 2020 draft. Where we saw the New Day as the SmackDown Tag Team Champions and the Street Profits as the Raw Tag Team Champions ended up having to change titles, which was pretty crazy. When you look at 2008's draft, the first draft pick was Rey Mysterio from SmackDown to Raw, and I believe ECW only got one draft pick. Yeah, they only got one draft pick, and that was Matt Hardy, who was the United States Champion. And the funny thing is that again, when you're the champion, sometimes you can actually go with them, which is the title can actually go with its holder, which is pretty crazy. And then the final draft pick ended up being Triple H, the WWE champion from Raw to SmackDown. The supplemental draft, actually, ECW got quite a few, actually. They got Finlay, Hornswoggle, Super Crazy, and of course, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, who ended up becoming ECW champion not long after that. So the question becomes, could we potentially get a draft? Is the brand split? Are we going to see Raw and SmackDown become their own separate brands once again? That is the big question here, and honestly, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say because when you look at also, when you look at the previous drafts, you know, especially also 2009. Funny enough, ECW only got one draft TV wise, and that was Vladimir Kozlov to ECW, which was hilarious. They also ended up receiving Ezekiel Jackson, Zack Ryder, David Hart Smith, as well as Natalia, and if I remember correctly, Hurricane, and that was when we saw Tyson Kidd debut as well. So it was pretty cool. So it's a possibility, right? It's a possibility that we could potentially get a draft again, because I believe 2020, I think last year's draft, was it last year's, or did we not get a draft at all? Because I know 2010, not 2010, but 2011 was probably one of the most hilarious. Because that was the last time that we ever got a draft before 2016. And funny enough, John Cena got drafted to SmackDown, but he ended up going back to Raw, which was hilarious. But you look at the 2016 draft, and the craziest part is that excuse me, is that this was probably by far one of the most, this was literally the most historic moment in history, because of the fact that this was actually the first draft in 5 years that we actually had a draft. So Raw chose Seth freaking Rollins, Charlotte Flair, Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, all three members of the New Day, Sami Zayn, Sasha Banks, Chris Jericho, Rusev and Lana, Kevin Owens, Enzo and Big Cass, the OC, the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, the Big Show, Nia Jax, who came from NXT. Finn Balor also came from NXT as well. Neville, Cesaro, Sheamus, Goldust and R-Truth, known as the Golden Truth. Titus O'Neil, Paige, Darren Young with Bob Backlund, who is a Hall of Famer. Sin Cara, Jack Swagger, the Dudley Boys, and I believe they ended up leaving WWE not long after that, which is kind of bizarre. Summer Rae, Mark Henry, Braun Strowman, Bo Dallas, the Shining Stars, who were known as Primo and Epico, funny enough. Alicia Fox, Dana Brooke, and Curtis Axel. And then going from down up for SmackDown, they got Carmella, who became the last pick of the draft, which was heartbreaking. Mojo Rawley, Eric Rowan, the Vaudevillains, Eva Marie, Breezango, Alexa Bliss from NXT, Apollo Crews, Zack Ryder, The Ascension, Connor and Victor, if you guys remember them, Naomi, Kalisto, and yeah, that was, they ended up splitting, splitting the Lucha Dragons, unfortunately, which was sad, but I think Sin Cara ended up leaving WWE at that time, so, yeah. Kane, the Usos, Alberto Del Rio, who ended up leaving WWE after that, Natalia, Dolph Ziggler, American Alpha from NXT, Chad Gable and Jason Jordan, Baron Corbin, The Miz and Maurice, Becky Lynch, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, John Cena, AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose, who was the WWE champion at that time. So again, I was only showcasing this because I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on what could potentially happen. Could we get a draft? It is very possible because I believe the 2020. Because I believe, honestly, if WWE is planning to split the Raw tag titles and the SmackDown tag titles, as well as the WWE and the Universal titles, then what they need to do is split them up, either at WrestleMania or before WrestleMania, because there's been rumors swirling all over social media that we could potentially get a brand splitted draft at some point, and with these recent crossovers that we've had, it's a sign that both Raw and SmackDown could be extended into one brand. I guess you could say, like they did, what was it, in 2011, if I remember correctly, like 2011, 2012, where they had what was known as Raw Super Show, which featured both Raw and SmackDown superstars, vice versa over to SmackDown, where they had Raw superstars go over to SmackDown as well. So it's a bit of an interesting toss-up, but I think if we get a brand split and we get a draft, this means that we could potentially see the end of the bloodline. Not only could we potentially see the end of the bloodline, we could also see a potential ending to factions like the Brawling Brutes, Imperium, Legado del Fantasma, tag teams like the Street Profits, Alpha Academy, even also the New Day could also be split after all this time, which is a possibility, but only time will tell. But again, this is something that I wanted to bring up because it's something that that was bugging me for quite a while, actually. But I want your guys' thoughts on this. Let me know in I can't speak. Let me know in the comments below, answering the question of the day, which is this: should WWE have another draft, or should WWE remain as it has been the last couple months? Let me know down in the comments below, and that will do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more WWE topic videos in the future, which get posted every Thursday, sometimes on weekends and sometimes on Wednesdays, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and follow me on all my social media. Links will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well, if you guys want to send me any fan mail. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.